Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Insurance Town. I'm the mayor, Heath Shearon, and I'm the host of this podcast. And I'm pumped you're here hanging out because I got my main man, Craig Bender's in the house. If you know him, you love him. You've seen his content. You've probably seen his brand. He is the owner and founder and all of those things of the brand and the community behind Insure You Too. Also, agency owner of Archdeacon Insurance. You got all the things going on, and I can't wait for you to check out this conversation, hear all about him and what he's doing. He is a marketing genius. I just love the guy. Also, this episode is sponsored, as always, by my good friends over at Smart Choice, the fastest growing agency network, hands down. And they do what they do because they love the industry, and they've been around for a long, long time. And whether you need a market or you need 100 markets, maybe you have your own markets, you just need to add a few in this tough market right now. Keep the ones you got underneath your own umbrella and bring some new ones with Smart Choice. And do it with higher commissions. Do it with lower premium thresholds. Do it with, hey, tell them you don't want any fees. They don't have any fees. They don't need startup fees. It's phenomenal, unbelievable relationship they have with their agents. And they want to come in and partner with you, not in an equity sense, but in the sense they want to roll up their sleeves and get to work for you. SmartChoiceAgents.com. Also, my good friends over at Canopy Connect. Canopy Connect is a game changer. What are you doing, guys? If you're not working with Canopy Connect, I don't know what's going on. They are a one-click solution to getting deck pages, but also they do intake forms. Also, they get you loss runs. Also, they can get you driver's lists, and they can get you vehicle lists. They can get you anything and everything that you need right there in your own little dashboard. Personalized for you. They get you links to send to referral partners. I'm telling you, the list could go on and on and on. I could do an hour-long podcast just about all the things they could do. However, go back and check out the episodes with Nick Berry or with Toga or with anybody from their team that I've interviewed in the past. Phenomenal episodes. Guys, I'm going to jump out of the way so you can hear this wonderful conversation with my main man, Craig Bender. Craig Bender, my man. What's going on, brother?
How are you?
Man, I am good. How about yourself?
Fantastic. Living the dream.
Living the dream. Are you on the East Coast or West Coast today?
Currently West Coast.
There you go. So you made it home. You made it back safe then. You were on the East Coast for a little bit there, weren't you?
Yeah, I was on the East Coast for about 45 days, give or take.
Yeah. Getting back to your roots and getting connected to the things you need to get connected to, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a beautiful thing knowing that when you go to expand your company and you still have the ties on the East Coast, now you're building on the West Coast, you go back and forth and really living that bi-coastal dream.
Yeah, dude. Hey, by the way, I hear congratulations is in order, winning a Rising Stars Award.
Yep.
Dude, congratulations, man.
Yeah, thank you so much. Definitely unexpected. I was excited. I saw the email. I know I gave you a call. I was like, is this real? But definitely greatly appreciated to receive that award.
Yeah, dude. It was cool to be at that conference, for the audience, it was the Rising Stars Award was given out in Santa Monica at the Insure Business Future Fest, and I was able to be there and see the whole. It was a good event. About 700 or 800 people there, and it's exciting, man. Very exciting. So again, congrats.
Thank you so much. And then on the pier too, I think that was like the first. I've never seen any type of insurance event on the West Coast on the pier, and I saw the pictures. It looked immaculate.
Dude, it was insane. I just released a podcast yesterday on a release of or a recap of that, and so go back if you haven't listened to that one, audience. Go back and check that one out. Give a full recap. And I'm a huge believer. I think they're onto something big. And the insurance conference space needs something like that. The state associations do a great job, and the aggregators and the networks, all that, they do a great job of putting out good events. But that was just a cool event. So. And I know you're a big event guy. You go to a lot of events and you film a lot of events and do stuff at a lot of events. So I know that's important to you and networking and relationships and whatnot.
Absolutely. I think events are It's magical, right? It's where you have a group of individuals that specialize in the same industry coming together, providing values from all different corners of the industry, and to be able to be put into either a room or a peer all at the same time and the same date. It truly, so many great things can happen from it. So I love it. There's truly nothing like it. And I always love seeing the booths. I always say that when I walk around, I'm a very big booth person. I want to see
Yeah.
who's coming out, who's paying attention to their booth. What is the booth says everything about their company, hands down. So I love to see the booths and the just the vendors in general come out and really show out.
So it really is. You judge a book by its cover on that when it comes to the booth, man. That makes sense, though.
I mean, it is like the first impression is everything,
Yeah,
right?
it sure is, bro. Well, and speaking of first impressions, before we dive into you a little bit, just for the audience to know, if you haven't been to an event with Insure U2, dude, you guys come out in full force. There is like 15 Craig Benders. It feels like you're everywhere, or someone on your team. You see Insure U2 everywhere. You got video cameras. You got people. It's cool to see when you guys show up. You don't mess around. You come in full force, bro.
Yeah, I one thing that I will say though is with that, I feel like unity is everything, right? So when we look at a an event, and I feel like this has dropped off tremendously in all industries, not just insurance, but uniforms, right? Unity. When you can come to an event and everyone's wearing the exact same company shirt, everyone's wearing the same branding colors because we're big with brand kits with our marketing division. It's like we want to show unity, and it just shows numbers, but it shows that we're all together and we're all on the same page.
100%. And that's a good call out for people listening, and we're going to dive into some more stuff like that. But, what I want to do before we do that, I want you to take a walk down memory lane with me, and let's just go back a little ways and let's talk about, who Craig Bender is, and give me a high level of how you got to where you are now to be this just innovator and mover and shaker in the industry that you are now. But that had to start somewhere. So go back there and let's talk about that.
Yeah. I first started working when I was 12, and it was a very easy concept, which I understood relatively quickly, right? It comes from the aspect of if I want something, I need money for it. How do you get money? You work. So, started very early on through inside of the paintball community. I was a referee. I would go around the fields, pick up garbage, and understanding the concept that if I wanted to play paintball, and paintball is a very expensive sport, it's one of those scenarios that I need to create money for it. So from that point throughout my whole life, it was always understanding that if I want X, I need to do Y. So it was throughout the years of growing and building and establishing myself, seeing, okay, I want to learn a little bit about this. I want to learn a little bit about this, but I want to try this. Let's try this. And I'm always a yes person. I will say that if you provide me an opportunity and you provide me a scenario that it makes sense, all for it. And if it doesn't, can we come together and figure out how we can make it make sense? So I'm always saying yes. I like to show up. I might have what's that saying where it's like you have fear of missing out. So it's one of those things where I like to be in attendance and I like to just show up. From that point, understanding, okay, now what is my why? And something that has resonated with me majority of my life is the always thinking with the end in mind, right? So I want a family. I want to build an amazing life for my family, protection, the concept of financial freedom in a sense. But what is financial freedom? It's just being able to have the ability to say, "Hey, this is what I want. I want it. Let's get it." So, thinking about that point and how it really carved me into who I'm actually becoming, I think has played a big role in just understanding those fundamentals that has driven my success from that point.
Yeah, I love those things, like especially coming back the paintball thing. That's really cool. So like I've played paintball many a times in my life, and those little boogers hurt, man. Like you get pelted by a few of those, man, you're in pain. You got some bruises on you. It's no joke, man. And I go out there. There's times I remember as a kid, I say a kid, a teenager playing, and there'd be like 9 and 10-year-olds out there with all these like 16 to 18, whatever year olds, and they'd be out there just getting it. And I'm like, man, I'd feel bad getting an 8-year-old, like, because those things will put a whelp on you quick, man.
Absolutely, and but now even taking that a little moment of that, like, or that portion of my life, and even kind of just resonating that with what's going on here is that I had the same experience, right? Everyone starts with a gun, a paintball gun, and some bullets or paintballs, and to run around and shoot each other. Then it's like you go to a field, and it's like, wow, this is really enjoyable. And then you see that every Sunday there's teams practicing, and now it's like, well, how do I get on the team? And then now it's
Yeah.
understanding, okay, you need to learn, go home, watch YouTube videos, all the way up to, I mean, I've played semi-professional paintball, woods ball. I've played Division 3, Division 2. I've traveled the whole United States playing paintball, and it was such a huge part of my life that has taught me so many amazing qualities to understanding. Now, this is the process. You want to get to the big stage, you have to work really hard. Now,
Right.
understanding that paintball isn't going to get me to where I want to be, and it's really just a hobby. It's something that I really enjoyed playing. Now, I just took that efforts and just brought it over to the business world.
And there's so many good parallels there in that too. And so getting into the insurance space for you, was there, I know the answer, but just for the audience, that connection to the insurance world, that came from your family, correct? Now your mom had an agency, or your father had an agency, family had an agency, correct?
Yeah, so it was my mother's. So my mother has been in the insurance industry pretty much her whole life, but even before that, my grandmother was inside the insurance industry. So,
Right.
but I
Oh,
came
wow.
into the insurance industry through my mother introducing me and growing up and sitting at the kitchen table, having the conversations, understanding what's going on, and then also, I mean, I remember being such a little child and my mom throwing all of my toys into like a little bin, putting me in the back seat of the car and just taking me on insurance appointments. And she would have to go get applications signed, or she had to go meet someone to do a photo inspection of their vehicle. And I'd be in the back seat loving it and just enjoying that moment, asking questions. So yeah, definitely was brought up inside of the insurance industry for sure.
Yeah, and so when you joined your family's agency, you didn't come in a traditional role in the agency, correct? You came in a different role, which set your path in insurance completely different than most traditional, insurance second generation kids, or
For sure.
third for your imagine or for your thing.
Absolutely. It definitely wasn't something that I thought, hey, I'm just going to take the route of the family agency and I'm coming right out of high school, want to jump right into the industry. There was definitely some medical scenarios that had happened with my mom. She's all healthy now, but to be able to identify that, be the only son in the family, and say, now I'm going to become the man of the family in the sense of, oh,
You're good, dude.
you get choked up on these things, right? Because when you think about it, it's like it's my mom. She brought me into this world. She was the one
Yeah.
that it's like they always have the saying, and I don't mean this with my father, but you can always have multiple dads. You can't have multiple moms, right? You could, but you came through your mom.
100%.
I love my mom dearly. So when seeing her go through what she had to go through, and for me to now say, you know what, I'm already licensed. I'm gonna come into this agency full force, learn everything from scratch. And you are right, because the way I had to come in wasn't a traditional way. It wasn't, hey mom, I have a question, or hey, can you help me with this? Because what my mom was going through at that time, she was unavailable, right? So how did I learn insurance? Reading underwriting guidelines, product manuals, company appetite guides. And I'm coming from the independent side, right? So I have 30, 40 plus carriers that are directly appointed with us to then be able to say, hey, I have to make sure that these relationships all stand while building up the relationships with the clientele. So, really understanding the full dynamic of the
Yeah.
independent agency world, that was it was a great learning curve for me.
Heck yeah. And so, like, talk about being thrown into the fire, for lack of better words, like I have a lot of respect for that, because it wasn't, in some sense, there's that security of having that. Like me, I came up, in my dad's agency, so to speak, and I had an opportunity to shadow and watch and do some of the things you were doing at 12 in the back seat, but I was able to do that, all the way through until I was able to take the training wheels off. And that's how a lot of second generation, you get a chance to have the training wheels on but you came in full on, like, you got pushed off and like you got to start pedaling fast. And so there's a lot of respect for that. And to recognize that early on as a young man, to recognize relationships matter and these carriers aren't just going to stick around to stick around. Like, I've got to make sure I nurture these relationships. I keep these clients on the books. You know, I make sure that these vendors are taken care of and these things are going on. And so there was a lot to be said for that. And again, kudos to you on that. But then it feels like, knowing a little bit about you, and you and I becoming friends lately, like, you quickly changed, you know, once you got things up and rolling there, you took a different approach from a marketing standpoint and put a lot of onus on that part of it. And so talk to me about that transformation and where that came from in you to recognize this agency, it needs to take a little different pivot here. And this is what I want to do.
For sure. I think that it comes down to, and I like to keep everything very simple. Coming into the insurance industry, I'm licensed, I can write insurance. Now let's take it a next step. Who am I writing insurance for? How am I getting leads? What am I going to do to generate business? So, of course, first thing you think of is marketing. So you look up Google marketing, and I set up a few meetings with different marketing companies, and I start listening to what they had to sell me on, right? Because at that point, it wasn't someone that, at that point, I didn't have a mentor in the marketing game. So when it comes down to, if I need leads, I need to market. Now, when you see the price of the leads and you say, okay, well, if let's just say you have to pay 5,500, we'll do SEO. We're going to do the whole marketing, the scenario, and we're going to generate you a bunch of leads. The one concept that has never really resonated well with me, truthfully, is the aspect of spending money for uncertain ROI, right? Yes, there is risk. I understand risk completely. But when you are paying for a lead sheet or you're paying for these leads, it 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 comes to me that it's like you're paying just for an opportunity to have your 15-second pitch. When it's like, I know I'm more than that. I know the value. I know that there's most likely not another insurance agent that has read underwriting guidelines for every single product that their agency sells, all the company's appetite guidelines. I've read an auto policy from front to back to thoroughly understand what is included. So now it's like, I'm going to pay to dilute what my value really is. So that's where it's taking a shift and saying, no, I'm going to generate my own leads. And it's creating that funnel of saying, if I just advertise that I'm genuine, I am who I am, this is me. When you get on the phone with me, you jump on a meeting with me, I'm the same person from midnight on Thursday to midnight on Friday. So from that standpoint, it's like, let's go that route, taking it that step, marketing myself, speaking about, hey, this is my knowledge, this is what I can do for you as a potential client. And then it's like, there was no traction, there was nothing. And then we keep going, and then we do it for another week, and then we do it another week, and then by so on and so forth. What ends up happening is, and this is just natural inside of the internet, right? It's like, if you post one thing, could it go viral? Absolutely. But what's going to happen is that it needs time to filter through the algorithm to find the correct audience. And that was even back 10 years ago. So now taking that methodology and saying, consistency, I'm going to do this every single day. And it's just, that's what it is. There was no thought of, oh, I have nothing to speak about, or I don't know what to post.
Right.
Figure it out. There was no chat GBT or AI back then. So I'm sitting there with pen on paper, drawing out the whole pillars, different content verticals of what can I speak about. And then it's taking it to a whole different level of saying, okay, so now I have the general concept of, this is what I'm speaking about. Then I go back into the analytics, seeing actually what works, what's happening with the content that I'm posting, and then just making my game plan purely based off what the analytics are displaying. And I grew a very large insurance book at I want to say a decent rate or a decent speed, enough to continuously scale the agency, be able to bring on new producers or more CSR reps, and being able to scale efficiently. So from that point, that's where the transition came into play of saying, hey, I don't need to spend $5,500 to pay for someone else to try to bring me leads. If I put $5,500 into my own investment, invested in a camera, invested into editing equipment, invested into me traveling and seeing different aspects of this client, or just spending some time in a certain area on Long Island to be able to understand what is the exposure there. Why do companies not want to be able to
Right.
write insurance 2 miles from the South Shore? So really breaking that down, and that's where the initial investment really comes into. And that was the huge pivot that I made of saying, nope, this is the right method. I'm only going to invest back into myself, and that's what I did.
Yeah, and obviously you were doing something right. Like you said, you grew it at a good clip to where you had other agencies, whether they were in Long Island or in New York or in other areas of the country, that were asking for your advice, or that were, looking to you as a mentor, or looking to you as someone, and still at a young age. And to the point of that became a passion for you of wanting to help other insurance agents. Talk to me a little bit about that transformation of like, you're still working in the agency. It's still to this day, you got, you're tied to the agency, but you're focusing now on helping other brands and wanting to work with other insurance agencies, which again is, says something about your character and says something about who you are, to say, this is me. I love insurance, but also love seeing other people win.
For sure. I would say that, humbly speaking, that I had an impact on the way that insurance content is generated today from a producer standpoint. And I say that confidently because timestamps, it can't be manipulated. I can go back all the way down to 2018 when I was first licensed, and the content that I was creating then, there was no other big producers or companies or agencies really pushing out content at that point, right? So now it's like I would drip a little bit different type of content all around. Do we get frozen up? There we are. We're back. I would try multiple different things. I'd be pushing out content, and of course, I mean, I never get upset when I see someone copying what I'm doing, right? Because in my book, plagiarism is the finest compliment in business to a certain extent, right? So now it's like if
Sure.
I'm doing something and it's working for me, you should totally use it. Why not? So from
Exactly.
that motive, what ended up happening was it really started with the associations, right? So you have a association like Big Eye Suffolk that they were a well established association way before I ever came on, but to be able to come into their association at a young age and be able to help them, we started a podcast, the 321 Insurance Podcast, and I to be able to pitch ideas. Hey, this is how we should be posting, taking care of their social media. Then that goes to the next gen, and then it goes to Big Eye New York, and it's like and creating that social media appearance is truly. I mean, Big Eye Suffolk was the first association on the East Coast to put out the type of content that you see today. And again, timestamps, because if we go back, you'll see that that was the originating factor. And I'm so happy that other associations and other sectors caught on, because it is a way to be able to showcase what we really do, because that brings it all back into part of the question that you just asked was, why do I do this for other people? Or like what made that transition is because what I'm doing all of this for is to keep the insurance industry alive. Now, when you think, oh, Craig Bender is not single-handedly keeping the insurance industry alive, right?
Right.
So, and I understand that. However, it takes one person to make a difference. And if I had that big of an influence and an impact on individuals creating content a specific way, I love to see all of it, because now it's like helping the insurance industry grow, right? It's getting other individuals to say, hey, I think I kind of like the insurance industry, because I promise you, no one is coming out of high school saying, I want to be inside the insurance industry. But it is such an amazing industry that when I speak to different individuals, right? I had someone DM me off Instagram the other day, and they asked, hey, like, do you have any opportunities? Or like, I think I want to get into the insurance industry. I'll take that call all day long. Why? Because it's keeping the industry young. It's keeping the industry continuously reinventing itself to say, hey, now it's like, what is your interest? What do you want to do? And then it's like, then you just add insurance to the back of it, right? So, for example, he is a huge construction guy. He loves construction. So I'm like, okay, so what is your favorite part about construction? It's like the individuals, it's the process. Great. Let's bring you on as a construction specialist inside the insurance industry. You want to be in
Yeah.
sports? Let's go through like I don't want to mention the company's names, but let's go through this special
Right.
company that has a special program for sports. So it's really an industry that it can fit everyone and anyone, and it is a magical place. Now, taking it to the next step of how I turned it into an actual business or why I turned it into a business is because it's real value. Think about this perspective, right, Heath? You want to market your products. Anyone wants to market their products inside the insurance industry. What other better way to do that than to have a licensed insurance professional with the perspective of being both a consumer as well as a actual provider of a specific value, right? And keep it very simple in that sense is saying, okay, I know insurance. I know if someone approached me this way, this is the way I would want to purchase insurance. But I also know that, hey, if this is someone that is speaking about insurance, this is also someone that I would want to have work for me inside my agency, just as a producer, or let's combine books, let's do an acquisition. So to
Yeah.
be able to provide that to a company level and travel the world marketing insurance fuels me internally, knowing that this potentially could be the route to market the insurance industry, not just for the sale of insurance, but for the growth of the industry.
Yeah. Yeah. I love your heart for that. And I love the way you're coming from on that. And, you know, again, when I saw you, I've seen you at a couple conferences, but when I saw you and I see this Insure You Too everywhere, you know, as I was, you know, first getting to know you and I was, you know, creeping you on LinkedIn or on Facebook or whatever, I found a really cool LinkedIn post that would, you know, showed a guy wearing a Insure You Too shirt. I think maybe going down some ski slopes or something. I don't know. But anyway, you were talking on the post about, you know, that brand. It's not your brand. It's not Craig Bender's brand. It's not true to your agency in New York or wherever. That is a brand for all insurance agencies. And the story of why, I'll let you, it's your post, so I'll let you tell the story. But that resonated with me in a way. And I would love for you to tell the audience kind of if you remember that post, kind of the onus of that post. Do you remember that post?
Yeah, it was the apparel, correct?
Yeah, the
The
apparel. So if you want to
Yes.
talk about the apparel of the Insure You Too and that kind of story, it was really a cool story.
Yeah, so I would say the origin of the Insure You Too brand is it originated with me to be able to advertise and say, how can you say what you do without saying what you do? And when you
Yeah.
look at an agency's name, for example, is you have a, let's just say, Archdeacon Agency. What does the Archdeacon Agency do? Right. So it's like, and it just creates the misalignment of, hey, this could be an agency for anything. But now when you put Insure You Too on it, it's like, oh, this agency can insure you too, right? It's the way that the mind and the psychology of the way that I structured the word comes out. So from that point, structured it, trademarked it, and now I want to put it on apparel. So I'm sitting on many different stories with the apparel, but I can guarantee you that if you have Insure You Too apparel, you wear that apparel 10 different times, you're going to get asked what is Insure You Too? Like, and for me, it's like I always say to individuals, like, you don't have to say, "Oh, this is Craig's company. That's my buddy's brand." No, tell them that I can insure you too, right? So it's like use it as the conversation started that it originally was created for, and then to be able to develop that into the origin of, okay, so now that's the one piece, that's the borderline creating. That's number one marketing is creating marketing without actually doing marketing, because now you look at it, it's like, why would I wear a Nike shirt when when the Nike apparel isn't going to generate me income, right? So if I'm wearing an Insure You Too shirt, potentially someone's going to ask, "Hey, what is Insure You Too?" That opens up the door for me. So looking at it from that overall perspective of I only wear Insure You Too apparel. Granted, if I'm going out where it's like, hey, I'm not looking to write business or I'm not looking to promote my company, of course, I don't wear it all the time. But if I'm during the week or the weekends, like I'm always rocking Insure You Too apparel because it's you never know when that opportunity is going to arise. And that day it came on the slopes, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it because even going back to, you know, because again, you could think of it as a generalist type thing. Like I could be standing at the, you know, looking at apples at the grocery store, and somebody come up to me and talk to me and like, yeah, we insure homeowners and we can insure you too. But also it could be going back to your construction guy. We help general contractors win more business by getting their certificates to them on a timely fashion or helping them go these hurdles, and we can insure you too. And it could work for niches. It could work for the restaurant industry. It could work for, we insure long haul truckers. We can insure you too. I mean, the brand is so universal in the way that could work. And I love the story that you say, you don't have to say it's Craig Bender's brand. You don't have to say, like Nike, like Phil, going back to Nike, like it's not Phil's brand. It is Phil's brand, whatever that guy's name was, but it's most people own that. And like me, I'm wearing Under Armour shirt. I wear a lot of Under Armour. It's like, that's my brand. I love the way it feels, the way it looks. I love the Under Armour brand. My son only wears Nike. He looks at it as like, it's his brand. Like Nike shoes, the only shoes he'll like to wear because they only fit him this way. No other shoes fits him that way. Insure you too, it fits the insurance industry in a certain way that other brands may not. I just think it's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. It definitely took. I mean, the origin of it originally was when I was producing insurance and I was working inside the dealership. I mean, it was very simple that I was being introduced as I was selling a car to, hey, this is Craig. He'll be able to help you, but he can also insure you too. And now being able to be introduced that way and look at it in a way where it's like, oh yeah, I can insure you too. Oh, Craig can insure you too. And then it's like, okay, now I want to put it on my license plate. I'm only able to fit 8 characters. I spell it out and I'm like, I like the way that this is. And then it's like, there could be there's a bigger potential for what Insure You 2 could become. And that's where then I ended up going through the whole legal process, trademarking it, which blows my mind that the industry's been around for as long as it has, and no one's ever thought of something that simple, right? But I understand it because not everyone's always just thinking about, hey, let's do it that way, let's do it this way. I mean, at the end of the day, when we're looking at the perspective of what can this do, what can Insure You to do for the industry moving forward, very simple. When the new youth grows up and the next generation even after that comes up, it's going to be very simple for them to understand insure you too. I think that they can insure me too. So it is very, it's the way that we're looking at it is that I'm very big with longevity. It took me about 6 years to build Insure You too before I even launched Insure You too, right? So when individuals know that I'm building it and it's like, oh, well, have you done anything with it? Are you doing this? It's not about speed to market when you're building a longevity company that's supposed to be around for the next 40, 50, 60 years, right? So it's building the foundation of what does this really mean to me? And the amount of companies that I had prior to Insure You too gave me all the experience to understand that no, I'm starting Insure You too, incorporating Insure You too, but it doesn't mean that I need to bring it to the public yet. It's going through lots of trials, lots of investments, right? So me investing back into myself, into something that's uncertain, that's what I'll do if the analytics display that there is big potential with this. So from there, I mean, I've been recognized in London, right? Europe. I never forget this. I'm walking in London. I'm walking in London wearing insure you to apparel, and I was at this specific coffee shop, and just an insurance agent came in, and like I kind of looked at him, and I have like a weird eye where it's like, I mean, granted, you're in London, so most likely you're going to see an insurance agent, but he ended up coming up to me. He was like, hey, like I think I've seen Insure You too before, definitely. And then he like pulled up my Instagram and he was following Insure You too, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I was like, I think that
really,
that
really
was
cool.
that was a turning factor where I was like, okay, now like that was probably in 2020, 2021, a little bit before COVID. And at
Dude.
that point, that's where that was a turning factor of saying, you know what, let's do it. All putting all my marbles on the table for it.
Dude, I love it. Now, I don't know if you thought about this or not, but we got to get Bono on the phone, and we've got to get U2. We got to get them insured by U2 or by Insure U2 or something. So you could say you insure U2. I don't know if you've thought about that yet or not, but you got, or at least get them involved in some of your marketing. How cool would that be to have, them as a have a U2 as a spokesperson, or the Edge or whatever? I think it'd be funny.
I think it would be amazing, not only just even from a spokesperson, but if we could do a theme song for Insure You too, that would be
Yes,
pretty cool.
dude. Because for the audience is not watching, it's spelled insure and then U and the letter 2, so, or the number 2, the letter 2. You can tell I'm from Arkansas, but yeah, the number 2. So it looks like you too. That'd be fantastic. But going back to what you were saying, and again, it sounds like I'm, blowing smoke up your skirt, but it's something that over the last several months that as we got to know each other, I've really been paying even more attention. I already knew of the brand, but paying more attention, it's become of like a community, like not just your brand, like you said, but like I'll see people and I'll talk to other people like, oh yeah, it's like not a movement, but it's almost like its own community. And tell me, like, was that something intentional for you to foster? It just kind of happened and you just kind of like, oh, I'm gonna pour some water on this, or pour some gas on this, whatever you want to call it. I want to grow this.
That's a good question. And what I will say is that it 100% was intentional. And why I will say it was intentional is because if you look at my website URL, you're going to notice that it's not .com, it's not .net, it is .club. Insure you to .club. So,
Nice.
and the reason being is because I want it to feel like a club, right? I want it to feel like we're all coming together. We are individuals. Like when you think of a country club, right? Or you think of like
Yeah.
a exclusive club of individuals that are in, they all have the same similarities of what they like and what they're into. It's the same general concept because especially with who I'm networking with, not saying that there's a standard to for us to do business together, right? But there is a level of understanding that where my passion lies for the insurance industry. It's like when you hear someone say something bad about something that you really love, and it's like, are you going to stay quiet or are you going to speak up, right? So, like, I am someone that I will defend with a sword and a shield the insurance industry for what it is. Like, it drives me nuts when you see this content or these even do a shout out like Jake Paul, right? Jake Paul talking about the insurance industry with Ben Askren. And I'm not saying that what he's saying is incorrect, but I just wish that I would be able to have a conversation with him to be able to educate and not even educate, but just display a whole different perspective of what the insurance industry really is, because it really does have such a bad name for certain perspectives. But it's an industry that no matter what, for the most part, if your insurance is done properly, they're going to be there for you when you need them. If your insurance is not done
100%.
properly, they might not be there if you need them, but it's also because you didn't do the right thing or you weren't guided by the right agent to do the right thing. That's where, and maybe like this is a too early, but a little feature drop of our AI. That is the concept of what I'm looking to really build, right? I'm looking to build where that demeanor behind the insurance industry disappears, right? Joe Rogan speaks about it. And it's all good stuff of what they're saying because their perspective is 100% valid. But I wish that if they saw it from my perspective of the reality of the insurance industry, of what they're trying to do, the stress that they go through, the changes, the legal stuff, they would understand like there is a problem here. There is, like, I understand that this is happening on the front end, but there's a severe problem on the back end. And that's where I'm looking to come in and implement our marketing, our consulting, the
Yeah.
concept of BPO agents, the concept of our AI, looking to plug all these different pieces in together to say, hey, if we create this recipe between these three different avenues, I think that we can reduce maybe E&O exposure by 40%. We can provide a higher policy in force count. We can do better underwriting. So, like, I have a lot of methodologies behind those concepts of what I'm looking to accomplish, but I see content like that. And the demeanor behind me is that I want to make sure that we can try in my generation or my lifetime, I want to try to change that demeanor. And I think that that's why it's creating that club of high level insurance professionals where it's like you have Ricky, John, you have
Yeah.
individuals on the West Coast, and you have the East Coast, and it just comes down to putting it all together to create that high level group of individuals.
Yeah, and you put your money where your mouth is on that because again, you put out content aimed at, insurance agencies as well as the general public to talk about this kind of stuff. And I've seen some of your blogs and I've seen some of your content you put out, and it's all right there for free on your website. You can go through. Obviously, you have a pay section there too, but you also have some good content out there that agents could pick up if they're part of the club or not, and just read through and be like, oh, I have this, like I have this issue too. I could watch this video and learn about it, or I have this, again, going back to what you guys do to educate, not only the general public, but other agencies on how they should be doing this or that for their marketing or this or that for their brand. Um, so just as we transition into some of that, like I would love to hear kind of just the beginnings of that, where that came from you, and like what you're doing, what you're putting out there, so the people that may want to go to the insureu2.club and check it out, or your website and see that. Some of the blog content you're putting out there, what is that for you, and how did that come about?
Yeah, so I guess what it comes out to is the reality. Now, what I will say is this is a little bit of a spoiler is that we're having, and it's funny, right? Because we're a marketing company, but we are having a whole rebrand come towards the end of quarter three, quarter four of 2025. Hopefully, if I can come out a little bit sooner, but revamping the website, revamping the value,
Yeah.
revamping it might be the greatest platform inside the insurance industry to be able to provide and hold the level of marketing advice, apparel advice, talking like you. It does drive me a little crazy when you get individuals that have been selling insurance for 5 years and now they become consulting coaches, and now you have other insurance agents that are paying them a monthly price to try to learn what they're saying when it's like it's free knowledge. You just have to follow their social media and they're going to give you the answers anyways, right? So from my perspective, it's like I have so much knowledge. I truly want to help people. I don't need to
Yeah.
charge someone for it to be the perspective of let me help you with this concept of insurance. Let's talk about this, right? It doesn't have to be where it's like, hey, paid subscription. Now it's like now you're a part of this. Will I have that? Probably on more the AI side because that is a valuable aspect that is not all necessarily public knowledge or the perspective of AI inside the insurance space. But from the concept of selling insurance, the concept of servicing insurance, that is like I was able to look online. Actually, I don't because it definitely built the foundation that I stand on today. But
Yeah.
if I can make it easier and shave off 5 to 10 years off of even any of your listeners' experience inside the insurance industry, and even if they've already been doing it for 15, 20 years, that's fantastic because guess what? This is the next 10 years of how you should operate because the way that
Yep.
you are working was working, but this is the way that it's going to start to work moving forward, especially with the social media and the content world that we live in today.
You're exactly right. And so that being said, when you talk about you've got this content out there, you've got stuff like that. When as you've built your marketing agency and some of the things that you're doing, you know, again, talking about free content, you're on my podcast. Someone asked if you can give a little more free advice out here, like talking about tailored marketing strategies and things of that nature. Could you, maybe bottom shelf some stuff just to give a little free advice for some of the agents out there, maybe of what you're seeing and that's working right now in agencies, and what's some advice you could maybe give on, some marketing strategies that they might be able to give out and to do for their agency or their brand.
That's a good question. I will say the first thing that is working is to speak into the camera. You get a lot of individuals that will face this way and talk about something, and the lack of confidence that they actually have when they do that, it displays, right? So you're not, who are you talking to? Talk, I want, if you have the audience right here, I want to talk to my audience and
Yep.
speak about the knowledge that I have. I would say that. I would also, from a standpoint of don't feel like you need to read word for word on the script. That's a huge like ick, like or a red flag that they call it, right? Is because it's like if you're staring at the camera and I'm saying word for word and not making any mistakes, it is so unauthentic that you don't even believe in what you are saying because you can't read off of the script. It's not natural. When we have these podcasts and I speak, right? It's this is coming from the heart. I'm not sitting there and I'm not jotting down different ideas. Like this is
Right.
genuine. And if I did this podcast 10 more times, it's the same information. Why? Because this is my story. This is the knowledge that I have. So I would say be as authentic as humanly possible and just speak. It's okay if you make a mistake. That's why if it's okay to see right there, it's okay to make a mistake. That's why there's editors. That's why there's
Yep.
individuals in the profession to make you look beautiful. And that's what we do, right? So you want to create 10 different videos, you could send the videos to us, we'll edit it and we'll send it out. From the content, from the concept of strategies, I would say you just need to post. If you're posting 5 days a week and you aren't seeing the results, post six. If you don't see the results,
Yeah.
post seven. Then it gets even crazier, right? Because now it's like you don't see the results, post 14 times a week, two times a day. Why not? Like it will come. And but that it's the same thing with anything. It's the same thing with losing weight. It's we everyone wants to talk about it, but no one wants to actually do it. And then they don't hold themselves accountable.
Yeah.
If you look behind the camera right now, you'd see a 365-day calendar that I've completed every single day, writing out everything between meetings and my weight loss journey, as well as different traveling and events. Because when I'm looking at this calendar, that's I literally it just displays that I just stayed consistent for 365 days. So from that point, it's just staying consistent, posting more. If you don't know what to post, post about yourself, post about your knowledge, share about an experience that you had this week, share about an experience that the marketing rep came into your agency and they were able to share some wisdom, and what did you think about it? Share a bad experience that you thought how you could have done better. Share an experience of what you wish that you had when you first started versus what you have now. Wish what Think about talk about what you want to have in the future for the next 10, 15 years, so it shows that you have a dream, you have a vision, and you're working your way to get there. At the end of the day, you just need to post content, even if it's a picture of your dog. Post.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And going back to, it's funny you said because it resonates with me. I've been on a weight loss journey for 2 years now, and I'm down 50 something pounds at this point, and it wasn't anything I wanted to do overnight to like do the shot and like lose weight. And no offense to anybody that did that, but I wanted to do it, in a way that worked for me, and I worked with my doctors and whatnot. But I remember 2 years ago, I thought if I'm going to really do this, I'm going to post something on Facebook or LinkedIn, wherever it was. And I was like, hey, I'm telling you now, I think it was in October because the post was, why wait till January 1? I want to start losing weight. I'm going to start in October. Forget waiting. I'm going to go ahead. I've got the desire now. I'm going to go. And it was just, slow 1 or 2 pounds a week, but, over the last 2 years. But I remember like in the post, like, hey, hold me accountable to that. If you see me in a video or you see me on stage or you see me somewhere and I still look the same way, be like, bro, what's up? You said you were going to lose weight. Why haven't you?
Yeah.
And so I had that in my head of like, I put this out for the universe. I better do what I say I was going to do. And again, it was a slow journey and I'm still a big boy, but once I tipped the scales at the scales I was at, I was like, whoa, something's got to change for my own health. I've got 3 kids. I got a wife who loves me and, family depends on me. I got to do this. Again, not about me. We're talking about Craig Bender here, but that was something for me that resonated as you said that. And you said something else that I thought was interesting because you're right. And I sometimes Gary V pops up on my algorithm and I'll see some of his stuff every now and then. And he's a real big proponent of, and he says it in a way that, only Gary V can say things, but he was just like, with a lot of explicatives, if you're scared, don't be scared. Just post, if you're thinking about it, as you just said, just do it. If this one you post doesn't work, just do it again. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Doesn't matter about, what it looks like, make mistakes, do whatever. But I say all of that to say you're right, and so is Gary V. But I've noticed with your content, especially over the last year or so, it's high quality stuff. I mean, it is your content specifically that you put out is high quality. And you do high quality equipment, high quality production. Is that something like, again, believing that what you said, I know you believe that, of just get it out there regardless of what it looks like. But why for Craig Bender is it so important that it is high quality? Does that make
So,
sense?
yeah, of
I'm
course.
baffled, but yeah.
And it makes perfect sense. And there would be no other podcast that I would want to drop this little teaser other than this one. So, what I will say is that there's a few different reasons. One is that the content that I create is not just for today, right? You get a lot of individuals that they do a speaking event, they want the content the same day, then they want to quickly post it, right? It's like a race between each other. And I'm sitting on the
Yeah.
sideline like watching everyone run, and it's like, why? I can post the same content in 3 years from now and it's going to hit just as hard, if not the same day, because it's the message that I'm saying, right? So that is a misconception 100%. But the other aspect too is that the and I've always said this, and I said it on stage at Insure Tech. I was actually with David Crothers when I was next to him. Is that it's unfortunate that, and I remember this even from being so young, is the aspect of when you go to a cemetery, you have loved ones that you don't actually visit, right? So you know that they could be buried maybe down 50 miles away, or they live in this state, but no one ever takes the time to, or not, I don't want to say no one, because I do it. I visit my loved ones, but I see the ones that you don't end up going and visiting them. So what is the alternative, and how can you fix that moving forward? Is creating pure content of who I really was, that when I put it on the internet, now that's going to be able to be cycled, because we all know how social media works, right? Oh, this happened 1 year ago. This happened 2 years ago on that specific date. So it actually becomes a memory bank in itself of, hey, this is the content. The content is what's going to live forever. And it's not like doing a photo book or a photo album of all the memories that you had. Like, yes, that is good, but now just where the world's going, it is the internet, it is your profile, and it's individuals say, oh, I don't like it being on the public on the internet, right? You have the ability to turn your account private and make sure that you go through all your friends list to make sure that, hey, these are only the ones that I feel comfortable with sharing. So that's not a valid excuse, right? And then from the other standpoint too, is that what I look to do is, because the change that we're trying to do, I'm fully understanding, or I fully understand the aspect of, someone might be like, well, what Craig said earlier in this podcast is like, it's never been done before. He's trying to revolutionize a whole industry. He's, yes, he pointed out a valid problem, but what is he going to do? I am day after day working on that solution. So the content quality may or may not be in the process of being put together in a Netflix documentary.
Heyo.
So,
Wow.
when we talk about, like,
Awesome.
where does content come from? Why do we want to do content? What are we doing? We're telling the story. So I need to make sure that the content is good, content resonates, it's, there's no mistakes, because it's so easy to not do content, that it's also just as easy to prepare and make sure that you have all the right team behind you to make sure that everything is being done the right way, everything is being spoken about in a way that it's high quality, it's clear, it's my messaging, because you never know what you're going to end up using that content for. And just to be able to have that quality, it reduces the amount of limitations that one would have.
Yeah. No, I love the way you put that. I think it was very beautifully put. Thank you for dropping a little potential teaser there. That's pretty awesome. That being said, uh, I mean, there's so many things, and I don't have a whole lot of time. But one of the things I did want to get into is, and you and I, I've known you now for a little bit, and we've talked about a lot of things, off camera, and gotten to be good friends. You have your finger on the pulse outside of our industry as well. And I remember I've talked to you before, and you're like, oh, I'm in a baseball game with so and so, and then I look up who's so and so. I'm like, holy crap, that's not just a so and so, that's like a third baseman for the Mets, or it's like a so and so for this, CEO of this Fortune 100 company, whatever. How in the, like, I shouldn't say how in the world, because your relationships would not, but that's an intentional thing for you, I know. And so how, I don't know what the question is there, other than just how cool that is that you have that finger on the pulse, and you're connecting to people outside of our industry, and then relating that back into our industry to bring that value. Talk to me a little bit about that. Again, not a question, just a guy that was super fascinated by that.
Yeah, and I remember that day too, when I was like, you're like, hey, how's it going? And I told you who I was with, and it's like, and it's one of those things that, like, especially with me and how I am, there's very few times that I'll see someone of such a high caliber and wanted to take a photo with them, right? Because it's like, I may want the photo, but at the end of the day, who I am as a person, who you are as a person, and all thousands and thousands of your listeners are as people. We're all humans, right?
Yep.
So understanding that what makes that person different than any other person is their work ethic, their mindset, their vision. So I think from a gravitational pull, when I were to sit down with any of my friends of that size or who they are. It doesn't. It's not like a fanboy in a way where it's like I want to learn more about like what I can find on the internet. I want to learn more about what's not on the internet and truly understand like, and I want to hear your story because I have a story, right? I'm just not as on a big enough or I'm on there's a huge platform that I can be put on, but I'm saying that it comes down to that who they are as an individual, they're just known by millions and millions of people through what they do. For me, I'm in a little niche industry of the insurance industry, but by my mindset and what I do inside the industry can resonate and relate to individuals that are doing the same thing in other industries. So now when you look at it, right? So now you put this into perspective is that if they if I'm relating to someone on a very large scale of someone that's very very influential and I am who I am, you would think that we could be on the same level of understanding and what we're doing, but the background might not look like it, right? The expansion of my company may not look like it. The financials of the company may not look like it, right? Because you're talking about individuals that get a contract for $500 million, right? For the course
Right.
of 2 to 3 years. So when we're really breaking it down, it's like the mindset's there so you know that eventually that's going to come, right? So this podcast even is special because of the question that you asked, because it's going to tell the story. You're going to see as we grow, because at the end of the day there is nothing that will stop me from getting to where I need to go.
Well, and again, finding that synergy between you and a billionaire for that matter, or a millionaire, or whatever it might be, where other people might be intimidated by that, or they might come into it with a fanboy mentality, or they might come into it with, can we take a selfie with me? Whereas you're having dinner with these folks and like picking their brain and just talking life, getting to know their kids and their, grandkids, or what the hell business, or getting them as people and being able to have that value, that's going to be something that imprints on you as a business person, imprints on you as a human being. And knowing the human being that Craig Bender is, I know that is something that's important to you because you've imparted some of that into me in the conversations we've had. And it's like, oh, wow. And then I'm like, I know that inspiration's coming from people outside the industry that have influenced you, or I know that's coming from this thing that you went to or that. And you can see that stamped all over you. And so I can appreciate that in you. And so I kind of want to just bring that out just for the audience. Kind of wanted to flex for you a little bit, but also wanted the audience to know, like, this is not somebody that's just an insurance influencer that just wants to grow a huge brand within the industry. It's somebody that's taking from other industries and taking from other things and able to impart some of that into our industry to keep it moving forward. Again, not that Craig Bender is going to be Superman to save our industry, but it just takes one person to spark that movement. And I say all that to say I appreciate it. I know my audience will appreciate it, and they're going to be clamoring for more. And we have to do a part two. But especially, here, because again, I have so many questions I didn't even get to get into, just because I'm fascinated by your story, and I know people will be as well. But I say all that kind of in wrap up, just say thank you for what you do for our industry and for creating this brand in this community. So in the last 3 or 4 minutes, I'll give you kind of a runway, just if you wanted to. I know you're a pretty humble guy, but to talk about Insure U2, talk about the community. If you wanted to share anything about it, if people wanted to get into the apparel, if people wanted to get into what you guys are doing, could you share a little bit about how they may connect with you personally or as a brand?
Yeah, I'll keep that side short. Just as far as like, I think that definitely warrants a part two, right? But as far as just my mindset with Insure You Too, what I can say is that you can connect with us on social media. You're going to get to our social media. You're going to see a lot of things, not fully active. We're posting a little bit. We're going through multiple different changes because we're constantly revamping our game. But what I can say is definitely by October 1st, you're going to see us being very active. You're going to see a lot of amazing, great content that just all I ask is just to kind of tune in and listen to what we're actually speaking about and what we're doing and how we're doing it, because I'm going to be very transparent. I'm going to be talking about a lot of great stuff, showing a lot of great stuff, relationships, connections. and then it's just going to kind of tell the story, and it's going to be providing multiple different avenues of value that might resonate with you. And as soon as it does, reach out to us, right? I'm not a very big high salesman person. I'm not going to contact, call, push, right? Like, I know the value that we have, and I know that you won't be disappointed when you do work with us. So from that perspective, I would say definitely just kind of tune into all of our social medias, which is just all Insure You too. We're on all platforms. So if we're not, I will gladly make that change. But I'm very confident that on every major streaming platform we are on. As far as the last halfway of my runway, what I really want to leave off with is I want to thank you, Heath. I want to thank you for the person that you are. I want to thank you for the care, the love, and the understanding that you bring to the table. I listened to you speak at the ABU Vegas convention, and the passion in your voice, what you're speaking about, how you handle yourself, the scenarios that you've experienced, but then we're able to bounce back and perform. Right at the end of the day, it's a performance, but you show up and you show out every single time that I've ever seen you at an event. Your name holds weight in a perspective that in events, small little events that you would never, I would never think of a large name being spoken about, right? And it's not saying that it's like large where it's like you're Brad Pitt, but in a name where it's like you go to your profiles, you see the content, and you listen to what you speak on, and maybe that's why we relate to each other so much, and we can work together, and we have a good understanding of each other, because what it really comes down to is the value that you bring is like no other. There is a also another. I'm very positive that there's another reason why you were speaking at the Santa Monica insurance event and some of larger names were not, right? Because what it comes down to is purely one aspect: the future. What are we trying to do? Whose mind is really there? What are you sharing? You share all authentic content, and I'm not trying to like and really harp on like you, but like you deserve this recognition, even from my perspective of just doing what I do. You've always been a well respected name and a brand inside of the insurance industry that has the potential to take this industry to the next level in such a way that I think is almost untapped, right? It's an untapped potential of what we can do together, what you can do individually, and who you are and what you stand for. I really want to thank you for being you, and I appreciate you having me on your podcast today.
Oh, bro, you're gonna make me cry over here, man. I appreciate it. Um, it means a lot to me. Just again, I could go on and on about my appreciation for you as well, but that's all I've ever cared about is just this industry, and I love people and I love relationships, and I figured out really quickly if I try to get up on a stage and talk about something that I know nothing about or I'm not passionate about, it comes off. And I've had bad speaking engagements where I tried to force something in, where now when people ask me, I'm like, here's my topics, here's what I'm going to talk about, because it's me, it's my brand, it's who I am. Otherwise, if I try to memorize a speech that's not me, it's going to fall flat. And then you're going to pay me to come speak about something that sucks. So I appreciate you saying that. It means a lot to me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being on the show. And I know people are going to be saying, okay, Heath, I need more. So let's just go ahead and we'll plan. If you have time, we'll plan a part 2, and we'll figure out to go a little deeper dive into what you're doing, because there's so much to unpack within the marketing, the AI, the other stuff you've dropped. So again, let's plan on that. And brother, I hope you have a good rest of your day, man.
Likewise, Keith. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to this to drop, and I'm looking forward to doing a part 2.
Heck yeah, bro.